We're going to transition now to Mr. Tuttle, and he is going to provide us with a budget presentation, budget update that will lead to our budget adoption in a couple of weeks. So I'm going to turn the microphone over to him. And I really want to start by saying I want to thank Mr. Tuttle for coming in January, really digging deep into the budget. And he's discovered quite a bit, and still doing so. And yet he's been able to work with me in putting together a budget for the 26-27 school year. So without further delay, I think we have our presentation up, and I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Tuttle to begin his presentation.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mott. Welcome, Mr. Creedon. Thank you, trustees of the board. Tonight, we're just going to review essentially what we presented last time. I just want to give you not much has changed with the state government, not much has changed with our funding sources. We did have looked a little bit deeper into allocations of certain three-part components, and we're probably going to keep going deeper and deeper because we're just finding some material things that we just need to fix to make sure everything comes out right at the end. So in your packet, I handed out a folder, and there's a table of contents, and I just want to give you everyone. Some of these are state mandates that we have to do. So you have a budget notice. That budget notice usually comes out in the flyer or the budget brochure every year, right? That's a state mandate that we have to do. We have the revenues. We have the proposed budget detailed in there. We have the admin salary disclosure. That's state law. The property tax report card that has to be approved before April 24th. And so we're working on that. And the school report card is in there as well. That has all the 3 through 12 testing, the graduation rates, etc. So before we dive in, I just want to obviously review the mission statement. I know it was already said tonight, but it's very important for us to keep the forefront of this. We are the champions of the children who inspire and nurture the whole child by providing innovative, high-quality educational opportunities that prepare all students to embark on individual paths of success in a globally diverse community. So just to recap, there's not much new information that I said, but the one thing that we've been doing is having a lot deeper conversations about all these different tracks that we're looking at, using the reserves, looking at state aid. We're actually asking the board to approve the state aid specialist tonight. They're going to look at all our state aid claims to see if we can actually recoup some of our aid back. And it's really just nothing that the district does. Is like every district has blind spots on things that they report, and they are able to help us find them and recoup some of the money for us. So we're reviewing class sizes. We're looking at BOCES expenditures. We're looking at debt service. We're looking at all our capital projects. We're looking at staffing and our salaries, the cost of benefits, really just looking at everything. And it's really been a crash course for me since January, but I think I've learned a lot, and it's been pretty exciting. So that's the process. Our revenue sources haven't changed much. We saw the property tax with the STAR tax and the pilots looking at about $35.5 million. Our local source, that's reserves and other dollars that we have, a little bit over 15 million. Our estimated state aid is 105 million. And we're really hoping that the governor comes through a little bit more than 2% this year for us. We're not sure. The governor's actually extended, the legislators actually extended another week, so we may not see a budget for another week with the state. We have some other state aid and federal aid, almost $1 million there. That's for ROTC, some other state aids that we receive. That's just really not identified in any category. Our workers' comp dividend, that's with our workers' comp consortium. It's almost about $500,000 that we're going to pull out of that dividend. And so our revenue is $156,908,000. And I can't see the bottom screen, $757. And that's essentially how you develop a budget. You see what your revenues are first, and then you back in all your expenses, and then hopefully you have it equals out at the end. Here's our tax levy. We talked a little bit about this last time. 1 second. So right now we're looking at going to a tax cap maximum. $34,952,161. And this is all of the, when you add all of the exclusions and all the other things that you can go into the formula, that's how you end up with your actual tax cap. It may not be a 2% on paper, but if you look at one of the lines, allowable levy growth factor, it's 1.02, so it can only grow 2%. But the other factors are we're using more capital, we have more debt service, and things like that that allow us to increase the levy to offset those payments. So if we look at the percent of tax cap increase, if we went from 1% up to 4.21, you can see the range. The maximum what we're looking for this year from voters and the board is 1.4 million. And if we go down, you can see the sliding scale. If we go down, it decreases. And if we start going down this looks at like FTE staffing and some programming. So we have to be very cognitive of what that will mean if we go less than that.
And that assumes the 2% from the state.
That assumes the 2% from the state, correct? Yeah, I'm hoping by the next April 21st meeting, everything is the same or better. If not, we'll come back with some other recommendations. Here's our historical approved tax cap since 2022. You can see it was like an upward trajectory till 2025. Although in 2025, they went to the maximum of the tax cap. But there wasn't as much debt service then, and there wasn't as much capital put into the factoring of the calculations. So we're kind of a little bit just making up for a little bit of that right now with the levy, and then hopefully we can level that out next year and moving forward. And then how does the tax cap compute if we went to the maximum at 4.21%? So if I took all the properties, there's 8,215 properties that are taxable. It's right around $171 a year is the average. Now, if I were to dig down deeper with homestead versus non-homestead, it would actually be less for each homestead person, each residential site. But I did a little, it was kind of interesting. The smallest parcel would be a 20-cent increase for the year. And then the largest would, which is Con Edison, 9.6, $9,600. So that's where that would be for the tax maximum tax cap. So the tax levy summary, we're looking at going to the maximum 34,952,161. That's with 50+1 votes. And then if we wanted to go above that, obviously we would need 60+1. We're not really looking to do that unless the governor came back and said there's zero foundation aid or anything like that. And then we'd have to really think about what that means for the community. And our foundation budget, here's the estimated budget from the state, from the January runs, I believe. This may actually maybe from February. Nothing has changed since the last time I presented. This is assuming a 2% change in foundation aid from last year. When it originally came out, it was 1%. But the conversation up at the state and is they're looking to get 2% foundation aid this year for all schools. Now that varies depending on the school you're in, et cetera, depending on where your foundation was last year and how much that you're actually going to receive. You know, you can see our dips and valleys with some of our different aid categories. The BOCES is up because we started spending more money with BOCES, and that's what we're trying to funnel most of our expenses because we get 75 to 80% back next year as aid. So that's a very good revenue source for the district. Plus you're getting all the resources and support you need from there. Building aid, that's gone down a little bit, but that's going to start going back up once we start closing out some projects. We'll start getting more aid once we start finalizing some of those and then over the next year. And then our charter school aid is actually down. And I think this is a little bit part of how the reporting was in the fall. So we're looking at that as well, just in monitoring that. Because the charter, you know, the three things that we're always constantly worried about right now is charter school, the health insurance, and then foundation aid. So if we look at the overall budget, we have a preliminary budget proposal, $156,908,757. The budget expenditures equals our revenue. So we have an equal budget. And we're looking at increasing the budget from this year to little bit over 6.2%. Last year, it was about 6.1% budget to budget. So we're using a little bit more in reserves this year, and we just have to be cautious of those moving forward, making sure we're replenishing them in the summer after this year's budget is done spending, and then we just keep using what we can. You don't really want to zero those out down the road. We want to make sure we have a savings account for anything that becomes that pops up. So overall, our tax levy percent increase is 4.21%. A little bit over 1.4 million in tax levy increase. And here's our three-part budget. This is mandated by the state. We have capital, right about 12% of the overall budget, 18.8 million. Our administrative is almost 11%, a little bit over 17 million in our program, which is where all the nuts and bolts are for the school district, and that's why we are here for the students and the staff. Make sure there's health and safety are paramount for us, and the busing and the food and everything that they do inside those buildings is important for us to have a safe and healthy budget, and then plus to make sure the buildings are have health and safety. That's a little bit over 77%, over a little bit, almost $121 million for the instructional part. But there's a lot of parts in that instructional piece. And again, the budget at a glance, the preliminary expenditures equal the revenue, a little bit over almost 157 million. And then what happens if the budget is defeated? We need to go to a contingent budget. You'll see that in one of your documents that is on the budget notice, the first page. If we go to contingency, that means we would have to go back to last year's levy, which is 1.4 million less than right now. So that could be right about 12 to 14 positions, depending on how we look at it. In the actual contingency number, I put an extra 500,000 because we can remove equipment and things like that we cannot purchase anyway when you go to contingency. And when you're in contingency, you have to charge for facilities. You can't do any new capital projects. There's a whole litany of things that we cannot do. It's one of those things you never want to be in that situation. Or you can just go to a second vote and try the public again with an adjusted number or publication or marketing, trying to get that budget passed. Our next meeting, I didn't update this, I'm sorry, because there was some confusion, is April 21st. That's when the board will be asked to adopt the budget. The tax report card must be to the state by April 24th, so that's good timing. Then we're meeting all the deadlines for the public hearing and then all of our budget documents to be out there. And then BOCES has their election on Tuesday, April 28th. And then the budget hearing will be May 6th. And the big day for us is Tuesday, May 19th, where we do the voting. For budget information and questions, this is something new we've added. You can email at budget@poughkeepsieschools.org, and we'll get back to you with any questions and concerns that you have about the budget. And that's all I have. Any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Tuttle. Nice job, very thorough, very direct. Board members, as you can see, a lot of work has taken place, drafting this budget, and a lot of things have been taken into consideration. As you can see, we use a lot of reserve dollars to balance out our budget. We're going to have to be frugal. We have to be wise in our spending, and we're going to use next year to analyze any and all programs and their outcomes that benefit students. We're going to take a deep dive into those and determine how we want to proceed if the data doesn't show that they're yielding better outcome for students. But that does conclude the budget presentation for the night. As stated, we're looking for the board to adopt this budget on the 21st of April. Mr. Creedon, that concludes our presentation. Any questions for Mr. Tuttle or myself?
Jamar, I'm going to start with you. Is ready to any questions?
I do have a question. I don't know if it's for you, Mr. Tuttle, since you're probably brand new. Maybe it's for our older board members and Mr. Mott. What's the process for like us scouring? I know how we do with the city, looking through the budget, making suggestions and amendments to the budget before we vote. on the 21st?
Well, generally, we have our committees. So we have a finance committee, for example, that can go into a deep dive into our budget. Then we report out, any board members is actually welcome to participate in those, ask questions. One of the things is that it is new this year is a Q&A. If you have any questions, you could email this budget at poughkeepsieschools.org. And we also have, after the board adopts the budget, on May sixth, there is a hearing for all community members to come out and ask questions of the budget. That's my response. I know the question was posed to,
But at that point, after we pass the budget, after the public hearing, is there a chance to make amendments to the budget, or once we pass it, it's passed?
that is correct. Ultimately, the board adopts the budget, the hearing takes place for the community to pose and ask questions, and then the community goes out on the 19th to vote. So the process again is for board members to really kind of dive into this along the way. Generally, it's the finance committee that I would recommend having these discussions with and questions about any components of the budget.
Okay. That was what I had. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, if you have questions about something, just send an
Yeah.
email or
Perfect.
to the
Perfect.
answer.
Perfect. Thank you, Mr. Tuttle. Appreciate it.
Eleanor, I see you have your light lit.
Yeah, so I just want to say, bravo for the action steps to be proactive, and trying to using the reserve. It is an increase to 2.9%, right? Well, it's 4.21, right? That's the increase.
In the levy,
Uh,
yeah.
Right, that is what you're asking, but it's an increase of 2.96%, correct? Well, if you look at the page, let me show you the page. You look at page where it shows the years.
Oh, yeah,
Yes,
Oh,
22, right, 2022, 2023, page 7, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Historical tax cap.
Right, so, it's, I mean, it's an increase, but it's needed for the district. Especially in regards to the capital projects, like I said, and I think I commented before, the, the auditorium at the high school looks amazing. You guys are, they're working on the middle school, and we do need some improvements because the district is old. So we do need some improvements. So I think that we're doing the best they can. Kudos to putting the website where people can ask questions, because the community, they always want to know where their tax dollars are going.
Yep.
I live in a community, I want to know too, so we can ask questions. But if you look at the inflation with today and everything that's going up, groceries and stuff, 4.21% is not that bad for the school district. So thank you for keeping it low for the taxpayers like myself and like people that's sitting here. Thank you for that.
yeah.
But the
and-
kids deserve more, so.
And to your point, it's hard to, if I had a crystal ball, it'd be awesome. Like, I don't know what next January brings for electricity, fuel,
Yeah,
like in buildings. So we try to, guesstimate, I guess, and say, hey,
Right.
this is what the trending, but
right.
it could be worse. It could be worse.
I was just about, it
Could
could
be
be
worse.
worse
I don't
because,
know. I don't know.
everyone that owns a car right
Yeah.
now, we're feeling the effects of gas, right?
Yep.
So, the 4.21%, I mean, we have to do something. Our kids can't suffer.
Yeah.
So, thank you, Mr. Tuttle.
And we have to follow a strict timeline for adoption, hearing, et cetera. Yet, as Mr. Tuttle just shared, that the state hasn't passed their budget either.